Are you getting lots of like warning signals?
I got a bunch of warning signals, and Casey just tried to get out, and the gate went down, so everything is loud and smashy over here. Oh my gosh!
Well, isn't this just fun?
Isn't
Hi.
this fun? Yeah. So we are not on Facebook yet.
Facebook, certainly,
Let's
yeah. And okay.
having troubles connecting, so none of our Facebooks are going live, but we are live on YouTube.
Yeah.
Which is great. I don't know. StreamYard is having some difficulties with.
Clearly, they must.
Yeah.
They must have heard us talking about them.
They might have, you know.
Yeah.
I was having a conversation with someone recently about integrity and gossip, and it's my goal in life to if I'm having a conversation in a public sphere or a public manner, that anyone could walk in on that conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And I would still be able to talk. You know how sometimes you just walk into a room and people stop talking? That will never happen with me, because I will never be saying anything that couldn't just be someone joining in on the conversation. So, yeah, there's that. Hey, everybody.
Hi.
I hope all the Facebook folks remember that we're over on YouTube, and that and that we're here. This is Radically Affirmative New Thought, the RANT with Dr. J.Z. and the Saint. And we're so glad you're here if you're watching.
Okay, here's what's funny. I've just gone to Facebook.
Yeah.
And
it's streaming.
I see it streaming there.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, well, let us know where you're watching. If you're watching, let us know in the comments. There has been some comments being missed because StreamYard isn't accepting all the comments from certain platforms. So let us know if you are trying to get a hold of us in the comments. We'd love to see you.
So here's the issue. Okay, because I'm trying things out now. Yeah. I have posted a comment on the one stream that I see, and it did not come up on our end. So we may not be able to see comments from Facebook.
Interesting.
Well, it doesn't mean that the rant doesn't still happen.
Yeah, we're still ranting. We're still here.
When it's live, y'all.
Yeah, yeah. This is what live looks like.
Yeah. Yeah. Technology.
Yeah, it irritates me that I can't go pick up the gate. But here we are. What do you want to talk about? So the last week has been a very full and social week for me. I'm sure for you as well. So I arrived back in Winnipeg, Manitoba yesterday morning at 1, and we had the joy of being together for our first annual, shall I dare say, in-person live studio audience. The RANT. It was so wonderful. So wonderful.
Would you put that picture up that was sent?
Yeah, let's see if I
know you had it up there earlier before we went live.
Hang on, yeah. Dun, 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 dun.
I will say it feels a little strange now because we were together for 5 days, like physically in person, and now we're not.
Screen share. There we go.
There we go.
There we are. With our bat signal.
I love that.
Yeah, I love that. It was so fun. Such a fun trip. Oh my goodness. I've had more time to just sit and stare and be present at life than I have ever had, probably consecutively. It was so great. Kind of had opportunities each day in the afternoon to just be in that space. And like, this was my first trip, the first, dare I say, vacation. I don't know. I understand now why people say I need a vacation from my vacation. Because it was a lot, but I also it was like my first one ever. pretty much. I've always traveled for work or conferences or, ministry, and taking the opportunity to just make a choice for myself and to do a great journey. It was profound. And so all of that time, just getting to meditate and be present, I got to do a couple labyrinth walks because Unity of Tucson has that beautiful labyrinth right on its grounds. And
did you go down the meditation path at all?
I did not. No. It always got too hot.
Something for next year.
Something for next year. Yes. I came home to -1 degree Celsius.
Yeah.
That's what we had this morning. Yeah. And you guys had the heat while I was there.
We had the heat while you were there, and now it's absolutely stunningly gorgeous. The high is forecast to be 73 degrees Fahrenheit today.
Oh, that's what my house is set at. Like that's my perfect right there, 73. That's my perfect.
So
yeah,
here, I'll give you a little reminder.
Yeah, I hugged that tree. I went and hugged that tree.
Yeah, desert willow. That's a desert willow tree.
And I saw so many little lizards.
There we go.
What is going on today?
I don't know. Technology.
We all need a nap. That's what we.
I think we do need a nap.
Even StreamYard needs a nap.
Yes, we all need a nap. All right. What's happening with the rant today? What's radically affirmative? That's what I want to know.
What's radically affirmative? Yeah. Hey, I could read something. Oh, where's my? Yeah. I could just find something.
Love.
Oh, there's one line highlighted on this page that I just found. Oh, but I'm going to read the whole paragraph. How limited we are. Oh, this is Creative Mind, Ernest Holmes' very first book, written in 1918. Brilliant, man. How limited we are. How little our thought. How the human race rises in the morning, plods off to the day's work, plods home at night, sore and tired, eats and sleeps, works and dies. As has been said of man, man works hard to get money, to buy food, to get strength, to work hard, to get money, to buy food, to get strength, to work hard, to get money, etc. This was never intended. It is the curse imposed on the man who believed in two powers, one of good and one of evil. Here's the highlighted part. To us, there has come a greater vision, and to those who believe and act as though it were true, it is proving itself. Those to us, there has come a greater vision, and to those who believe and act as though it were true, it is proving itself. It is proving itself. Wow, that kind of goes back to like my whole conversation, my mini rant on Wake Up, Say Thank You. Today's rant or today's spiritual practice was around my heart knows the way, and I was talking about that like as we believe, like we have the power to shift, change, to grow, evolve. We have the power to stay the same if we want to. Like that's in us. And to have a vision for a greater truth than just trudging through life. Oh my goodness. It reminds me of the proverb I have heard and said many times. Before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. So we still do the work, whether or not the vision, whether or not we have a vision, we are doing the work. The work just looks differently. Sometimes work looks like hard lifting, and sometimes it looks like joyful noise. We have that choice within us to do whatever it is. Choice. Oh, choice.
I love that proverb. So much so that I utilized it in my screenplay that I wrote a few years ago. I also, the other one is when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. We've all heard that, right? There's a second part to that. When the student is really ready, the teacher will disappear. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's like, we talk about this as ministers and practitioners, that our goal is really to outsource ourselves and make our job obsolete in a sense.
Exactly. I want to put myself out of business.
Yeah, by teaching self-reliance and the power of affirmative prayer, we can do great things. Mm-hmm. We can do great things. Self-reliance and the power of prayer. Mm-hmm. Those two things together. Oh, watch out.
Yeah.
Watch out, world. Yeah. I wonder if like, we're not seeing numbers. We're not getting comments. I wonder.
I did just go take a gander at the Facebook pages. There's not, there are some comments that are on the Facebook pages, but we're not seeing them on our end.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Oh, I'm pressing buttons now too.
So yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting
times. Any of those comments?
No.
Ideas about the rant?
Not that I've seen.
Here, I'm gonna try.
But I'm not monitoring them because you have 4 different Facebook pages, so I'm not monitoring them consistently.
Okay, so YouTube is working, you guys. Yeah. YouTube is working. I've just gone over. I've tested it. YouTube is working. Yeah. And yeah, there it is. There it is.
Well, there we are.
So, and we're both exhausted because
we had such a full week together.
We had such a full week.
We do. We're both like falling over.
So maybe it's a short one today.
Maybe.
Yeah. So if you're watching on YouTube, like what I see people watching on YouTube, Unity of Tucson. That's where people are watching right now, number wise.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're watching on Unity of Tucson, let us know in the comments that you can see and hear us, and give us your ideas, something to rant about, or we're just gonna go nap.
Totally.
Not a bad idea. Not a bad idea. Yeah. Any thoughts? Like what I just read, I mean, the whole paragraph was like, ow, pokey. And then the last sentence is about the vision of it, just, having a greater vision. So if you, what are your thoughts on that? Let us know in the comments.
Yeah. Yeah. There's sometimes like I get to a point where sometimes I read the works of the luminaries of the New Thought movement, and there's a little part of me that just goes, oh yeah, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think what I think about the rant that we have the opportunity to really endeavor to do here. I don't know that you and I have ever explicitly talked about this, but part of my desire is that there is a greater approach to evolving spiritual thought. That Ernest Holmes apparently said at some point in his life that if we were still reading the Science of Mind text in 60 years, that we didn't understand the Science of Mind text. Because we need to be evolving and growing and thriving from beyond, those old words. And I agree with that. Part of what my approach to the whole New Thought movement is that we should all be centers for spiritual evolution. Not just, and with all due respect to the Centers for Spiritual Living, because that is their official name, but yes, I am living this philosophy, but I want to be also involved in the philosophical evolution that emboldens us, which is the thing I think will put us out of business as spiritual leaders, right? And if we are seeking to put ourselves out of business, then part of it is let us all promote spiritual evolution. On Sunday, I don't know if you know that Sunday is Easter. And
it is.
And a couple of years ago, I did a talk called Rise, right? As there's the metaphor. We're rising above the circumstances of our experience. And I came up with an acronym for Rise, which was resurrection. I was going to say revolution. I didn't want to say revolution. Resurrection is spiritual evolution.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So
absolutely.
If we're going to be resurrected, it means that we must be participants in the spiritual evolution at the heart level in our lives.
Yeah.
And today is Good Friday. That's another thing to note. Today is Good Friday, which for me, because it's the day that Jesus left this mortal plane, so to speak. But it's, for me, the metaphor around that is letting go of our reliance on the physical and remembering that we are ultimately spiritual beings living in a spiritual universe governed by our use of a spiritual law, and that irrespective of the circumstances of our lives, we're not deriving good or joy or anything from them. We are the conduits of good and joy and harmony and light and life, and we are actually shining those things forth and seeing them reflected in our circumstances. So today, Good Friday is really about, releasing reliance on circumstances, which is what we've mostly been taught, to be reliant upon circumstances in our lives.
Yeah.
And
I think too, like around, the letting go of our old self, we're really, parts of us are dying in that sense. We're completing old portions of ourselves so that we can evolve, so that we can grow. And there's a grieving process involved in that too. And I think a part of our art, like for me, a spiritual evolution is to end spiritual bypass and to be present for the divine that is within all things. That's really central in my heart, that we have this belief that put a smile on, everything's going to be rosy. And we forget the sweetness of grief. We forget the sweetness of moving through trials and tribulations and becoming ourselves. I mean, we go back to the caterpillar and the chrysalis all the time. And the caterpillar doesn't know what's going to happen in that chrysalis, but the chrysalis, it literally dissolves its whole being. It dissolves, it eats itself so that it can emerge as something new and glorious and have wings, and the hero's journey inside of each and every one of us is that we start as a caterpillar in one aspect of ourself. We go through something and we have to destroy pieces of ourselves so that we can emerge as something else. And that's a soul evolution, a spiritual evolution, is to be present for all of that and remember that the divine is in the sticky and the sweet, and to not beat ourselves up for making errors, for having errors in thinking. And if we didn't have those errors in thinking, we wouldn't have anything to grow. What would be the point? That's my opinion. Everybody has a right and the freedom to have their own opinion. But for me, it's being present for all of the chaos that has been in my life because of, and maybe not in the moment. In the moment, I was reveling or, being in the ick of my own experience. But now when I look at my whole life, it's my whole life that has brought me to this expression of freedom. And I had to shed things. I had to break barriers, and I had to move through some hard stuff so that it strengthened who I am in my personhood and in my own spiritual evolution.
You've sparked something for me, which it's one of the philosophical, it's one of those deeply philosophical questions that, you could look at it from any number of perspectives. So I'm just noticing a beautiful hawk flying by. You can notice it from any number of perspectives, or you can address it from any number of perspectives, and maybe they're all right, maybe they're all wrong. I don't know. But part of what comes up is what does our what constitutes our identity? And so the philosophical story that comes up for me is the ship of Theseus. You know about the ship of Theseus?
No.
So Theseus, I guess it's actually Theseus. So the ship of Theseus is there's this thing where philosophical paradox was presented, and I forget who. Maybe it was Plutarch. We're talking ancient Greek here.
Yeah.
Who presented this and said basically so Theseus has a ship that was built and constructed, right? But as the years have progressed, parts of the ship have had to be replaced. And so you take out the plank and you put in a new plank, and you take out this and you put it in. And after a number of years, every single piece of that ship has been replaced. Is it the original ship?
Well, that's just like our bodies. That's just like our bodies.
Yeah. So what constitutes identity? Is it the construct or the idea behind the construct? And then the other part of this is, say the shipbuilder who was doing all the repairs retained all of the pieces that were taken from the original ship and reconstructed them as the other ship was being repaired, and put all of those pieces together as a ship. Which is the original ship?
You've now created a parallel universe.
These are the deep thoughts I have.
Yeah.
So it's a philosophical paradox of like really trying to get to the core of what is our identity.
Yeah.
And there is, I kind of feel like there is no right or wrong answer. It's only how do you approach the construct, and how do you understand your own identity?
And that's what makes it philosophy, right? Because everyone who has a thought about it is having their own thought from their own experience and their own identity.
Yeah.
I love that though. Like, yeah. That's something to ponder for sure. It's very much like the body. I mean, the body renews itself. The body renews itself. That's how we can heal. And I love the story about the stomach lining renews itself every 24 hours. Every 24 hours, you have a new stomach lining. And so an ulcer is remembering the pain. You're reaffirming every day that you have an ulcer, and therefore you create that ulcer in its place. And using the power of our mind, and we can change that. We can, like, today, my stomach lining is in perfect harmony with its peak performance. There's nothing outside of me that is not perfectly divine and operating and functioning perfectly. Like that's truth. And but nobody's collecting my stomach linings. Like, it's a new one. So that's an interesting addition. Like, which ship is the original? I mean, because it would be the original. But at the same time, it's so therefore leaning towards the idea being the original, the thinker that designed the boat. That's the original. That's the original ship. Yeah.
The idea is the original construct.
Yeah.
And the identity is rooted in the idea of the thing, not the thing itself.
Yeah. Thinking deep thoughts.
That's what we do. It's what we do. We think deep thoughts, and I think, some people may be out there going, what is this? Is this radically affirmative new thought? You're talking about ancient Greek philosophy. And I'm like, new thought is not so new.
It's not so new.
Yeah. It's ancient wisdom, but we are seeking to adopt it in our own way, in our own hearts. That's what makes
1918, right? Creative Mind, 1918. The Tao Te Ching.
2,400 years old. I looked it up because you mentioned it before. It's 2,400 years old.
2,400 years old.
Yeah.
These two things have so much in common, right? They're talking about the same thing, 2,400 years old. So New Thought is a movement to help us have new thoughts. It's ancient wisdom in modern times, and we get to use it. And so how do we, like, knowing that these two books, like Ernest says, stop reading me after 60 years. And here it's 2,400 years old, and people are still creating new translations and new ideas around this experience. And so how do we have a spiritual evolution when truth is truth and principle is principle, right? How do we have a spiritual evolution to something new when this is brilliant wisdom for us to hone in on and to dissect and digest for ourselves?
I don't have the answer to that.
Nobody does.
And let's face it, ministers, we have bookshelves full of books. All, like, I have books, ancient wisdom, folklore, myth. I've got so many different books, and I use it all as reference. But here's the thing. I use it all as reference to inspire something new within me.
Yes, exactly.
And that's really what Affirmative New Thought is all about. It's about what we can look at the ancient texts, and even 1918 now, I think we could start to consider as an ancient text.
Oh my gosh.
And see what is revealed through us, because we're not separate from.
Yeah. And I go back to my thought is, I'm only ministering to one person. I'm a minister, and I'm only ministering to one person.
Don't tell the secret.
And that's me. My mind is the thing that I'm healing.
Everybody wants to think that we're ministering to them.
I know, because beloveds, you are so special and sacred and precious, and I love you and I adore you. And every time you come to me for treatment, I'm treating for myself.
Yeah.
Every time.
Every time I speak on a Sunday, it's the message I need to hear.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes I go into little blips of, like, why am I doing this? I'm done. Why am I doing this? There's no one out in front of me. There's no one out in front of me, motivating me, inspiring me. I've gotten to a place in my spiritual education where it's difficult to find mentors that are still challenging me in a way that helps me grow. And sometimes I just go and rewatch my own stuff, and I'm like, okay, I'm ready to go again, because it's already unfolding what I'm continuously working on until I get it, until it dissolves before me, right? Then I'm still working on it. And that's great. And everyone who comes to me is helping me in this journey. It's reciprocal, right? People come to have prayer support and spiritual mentorship and coaching, and we're together. We're inseparable. So everything that someone else is bringing to me is for our highest good, because there is only one.
Yeah.
One mind. Yeah.
I want to shout out to Sherry, who on Facebook said, "Hello, beautiful peeps." Sherry, just so you know, there's a issue with our connection to Facebook, so we're not seeing any of the comments that are coming through on Facebook. But I'm kind of trying to monitor Facebook as well a little bit at the same time.
And to us, it doesn't even look like it's streaming to them.
Right.
It is.
Like we're not streaming at all.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Interesting.
And I want to say thank you to Sherry, actually, because she was so instrumental in helping ensure that we were able to do the rant in person last week with very little problem. Both Sherry, my father, Don, who basically they were both really integral in the technical parts of how we got to do the rant live last week. So thank you.
Yes, thank you. We so appreciate it. Yeah.
So
you made the show.
Yay!
Tammy is now lifting up the gate that had fallen.
Thank
you.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Well, we've made it 30 minutes, and maybe this is a short rant today.
Maybe. I'd love to be able to see comments, but they're just, like we said.
They're not coming.
Oh.
All
right. I'm going to put this up. This is from your mom. I'm going to copy this. I'm going to throw it into a banner.
Nice.
I think.
Yay, my mom's watching. Hey, Mom.
So the banner does not allow all of the text to come through. So I'm going to have to do it in a couple different parts. So we'll put this one up first. And then I'm going to keep doing so. Identity encompasses the memories, experiences, relationships, and values that creates one's sense of self, right?
Oh, yes.
And so the amalgamation creates a steady sense of who one is over time, even as new facets are developed and incorporated into one's identity, from facing history and ourselves. I love that. So
I love that.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I think it's in line with what we were saying. The idea of the thing is the actual thing, as opposed to the construct in the form. Because the form is temporary, but the idea never ceases to be. Yeah. So something deep.
Yeah. I think that's really important to know about, living authentically, so that you truly are living from that place of self. Because I know, and I've been there. It's been in my own life, in my own experience, that I form an identity around something or someone else outside of me. And so taking into that sense of self, and really, can you put up the first part again?
No.
Oh, okay.
Actually, I already just deleted it. I'm so sorry.
That's okay. But just like the total sense of self is like your memories. And so your identity can shift and change, but your whole self is what stays centered in who you are. And so I'm so grateful that I've shifted around my sense of self. A sense of self and knowing who you are, that's so important. There we go. Identity encompasses the memories, experiences, relationships, and values that create oneself. And so that's evolutionary. Your identity can be evolutionary as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, Alita.
I
love it.
Yeah. Well, what do you think, beloved?
We're so pooped.
We are pooped. Because like
because I arrived Thursday evening, and Friday morning, like, it was just go.
Yeah.
And so we
had a very full week.
Very full week. And it was magnificent. I got to see so much of Tucson, Arizona. And you're one of our first meals together, you said, so do you have any misconceptions of Tucson, Arizona? And I was like, I don't think so. I've been to Arizona before. And by the end of the trip, I was like, okay, here's my misconception is how the livingness of Arizona, like everything. There wasn't a moment that I was not involved and immersed in nature, even throughout driving through the city. Day one, 2 coyotes, a bunny, my whole trip, I've seen probably 100 lizards, and it was starting to blossom. Everything was starting to blossom. And so the livingness of the desert was something I really got to experience.
Yeah.
And wow, like it was amazing. My last few moments there, in my little casita that I was staying in, I was making a relationship that whole time with the birds and the creatures that were around. I put out some strawberries for the bunnies earlier on in the trip. And my last experience, I was sitting out by this little water container for the creatures, and there's surrounded by little shrubs. And I was sitting calmly and peacefully. And so all the birds came that were around. The quail came to say goodbye. Each of them were like coming to take turns, and they all arrived at the same time. They knew I was outside. And so 2 quail and 2 mourning doves and all the little red and birds and the yellow birds and their partners they just came. And I was like, what's her name? Snow White? Sleeping Beauty? Which one had just all the animals came? The bunny came to see if I had more strawberries.
Yeah.
The lizards were there. Like there was so much life in Tucson, Arizona, and it was just magnificent.
I always remind, when people come, I always say, the Sonoran Desert, which is the desert that we're in here, is the most biodiverse desert in the world. And it's really extraordinary. I'm just going to put this up full screen. That's the view outside my office window. And I think a lot of people expect, yes, there's dirt and rocks,
for sure,
but a lot of people expect it to be only dirt and rocks. In fact, my husband, who's from Thunder Bay, Ontario,
yeah.
Look it up on a map. It's up above Lake Superior. It's on the shore of Lake Superior, north of Minnesota. When we talked about moving here, he had never visited yet. And we talked about moving here. And I said, well, I can guarantee you it's a place that has no winter, which was kind of the joke now, right? And he said to me after he had visited, he said, I literally thought it was going to be like sand dunes and rocks and nothing else.
And like dusty barrels of
like
tumbleweeds just rolling around. Yeah
And there are deserts that are like that, right? This one is so lush. This is a lush desert. That's how I always describe it. Yeah, we also have lots of critters. You saw lots of critters at the desert museum.
They multiplied while I was there.
Yeah,
like on my first couple of days, I saw ones that were like this big, and then my last day, I saw tons that were just this big. I'm like, somebody's nest just hatched.
Yeah, the lizards are quite active. You didn't see any snakes though while you were.
No, I didn't see any snakes.
Only at the desert museum behind glass.
Yeah. Sherry's got a comment here. Let's see. Someone commented to me about a judgment I had, and I said, if I'm using the judgment to change my mind, is judging a negative or a positive?
I have a way of approaching this idea.
Yes.
Sometimes we conflate discernment with judgment.
Yes.
And when I talk about judgment, I specifically mean ideas that express in ways that are detrimental to our growth and hold us back and are destructive thoughts in our relationships. It is absolutely vital, I think, that we have discernment. And when I talk about discernment, that is an opinion that I may have about something that is going to serve and allow my best self to be expressed. So I think what you maybe consider this: if you are using discernment to change your mind, discernment can be positive. I think judgment, for me, I always consider judgment as a negative thing. And the irony of that is that in the unity movement, among the 12 powers, as they were articulated by Charles Fillmore and consolidated into a book that he wrote called The 12 Powers, one of them is judgment. But he's really saying it's really about wisdom and discernment, that it's not about judgment, like I'm going to be judgmental of others. It's about having, letting us proceed with wisdom. So,
because things can be done with good judgment.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I always, for me, when I'm thinking about my own judgment, it's like a harsh statement towards myself or another person, and so that would be a negative judgment. But if it leads me to a higher good or a changed mind, then there can't be anything negative in it.
Right. If it's productive and constructive, how can it be bad?
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
So there we are.
Thanks, Sherry.
Yay. I'm glad you popped over to YouTube to find us, where we are seeing the comments come through on YouTube.
Yeah.
So, well, my beloved.
Yeah. Let's call it for the day.
Yeah.
This has been an awesome, we did get some great nuggets.
Yeah.
I think it's time for a nap.
I'm going to show what your mom put as a message to us.
Rest now and return refreshed next week. Yes. Thanks, Mom.
Yeah.
She gets it.
She does indeed. So I think that's it. We're going to call it. But we'll be back next week on Friday for the rant. We'll be a little more rested and rejuvenated, I'm sure. And trusting you all have an amazing week.
Yes. Love you all. Peace and blessings. We'll see you next week.
Send us what you want to send us. What you want us to talk about. You can email us. You can post things on Facebook and comments on YouTube, and we will put it in the hopper of things to discuss when we are back for the rant.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
I like that. We'll put it in the hopper.
Hopper, absolutely. Yeah. Peace and blessings, y'all. Bye.